Hey, what's going on, aarava here, and welcome back to a brand new video today where we're going to be discussing the concept of F1 2019 and what the potential F1 2019 cars are starting to look like. Because last week, after the Hungarian Grand Prix, there was obviously the post-in-season test at Hungary where teams such as Williams, Force India, and I believe also Red Bull ran 2019 SPEC front wings, essentially. Obviously, they will change dramatically to what we actually see when it comes out in, Feb and March of next year, 2019, but it's a good indication of what those are going to look like. Of course, if you're unfamiliar with the changes for 2019 coming on the horizon, essentially we're going to be simplifying the front wings in Formula 1. The span of the entire front wing is going to extend back out to the edge of the front tire like it used to be back in the 2010-09 days before they got shorter for the V6 era in 2014. So the span is going all the way back out. They're simplifying it by removing the cascade elements and banning cascade elements in that kind of front-facing part of the front wing. You're allowed flaps, still multiple flaps on the main plane, and you're allowed a bit of curvature on the end plate, but you can't really do too much with that. And then they're also changing the dimensions and the depth of the rear wing as well to make DRS a bit more efficient in terms of, if you have a bit of a deeper rear wing, effectively when the flap is open, then it's a bigger hole that's opened up in the rear wing compared to a closed DRS flap. And also they're increasing the width slightly in the kind of shape of it, but the main one is really the front wing, and so that was the thing they were trialing at the Hungarian Grand Prix test. And so just a little bit of a chilled out video talking about that, because I had a lot of people tweeting me last week about whether I was going to do a video about that, kind of sharing my thoughts. And before we get to my thoughts, I want to guys know your thoughts, because I saw plenty of very different opposite opinions about the 2019 looking wings. Like, some people really like the look of them, the simplified nature. Some people already did not. Some people took a bit more kind of nitty-gritty kind of opinions on certain aspects, like the span or the cascade elements, or there was some just a mixture of opinions. So let me know in the comments below what you guys are thinking about it. Of course, like I said, it's not going to be exactly what we end up with come February and March, but it's a pretty good indication. It looked pretty damn weird on the Williams car, of course, because Williams decided to paint their entire car with Flovis paint because that car is so bad aerodynamically, it seems they need to to test out everything. Literally, there's a few pictures of the Williams car multicolored in like red, blue, green, pink, red, like orange, yellow, every single color under the sun in Flovis paint. So it looked a little bit odd on the Williams car, but on the Force India and the Red Bull, you can kind of see that vibe of immediately that difference. You can kind of just tell aesthetically it's going to produce less downforce, and aesthetically obviously it looks very different, but the real reason why they changed it, let's not forget, is to try and reduce that dependence on turning the air around the front tire. Right now in Formula 1, the main way the front wing interacts with the front tire, you've got two different ways. Essentially, either the front wing is pushing air to the inside, either to the cascade elements underneath the car. You've got little winglets right underneath the kind of suspension housing, and then obviously the very complex bargeboard area that we've had ever since 2017. And then you've also got the other side of things where you've got this very curved arch kind of effect going on the main plane, and you've got this very aggressive end plate design where it's all about turning the air sideways around the front tire into this region where a vortex is created on the outside face of the front tire, trying to create that, and that pushes the air downstream, also tries to control the kind of very turbulent air that naturally comes off the front tires. And teams are very dependent on that, and you can imagine just by the way I've described that, you would assume that's very, very important. And of course, following behind another car equals turbulent air. You've got hot exhaust gas, and then you've also got the wake and the turbulent air off the front wing and the rear tires of the car you're following, making the air turbulent as you go into it. And so into corners, or even just down a straight as well, it's not working as efficiently, the following car, that is, in terms of, especially in the corners. We saw a good case of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Places like Monaco, I mean, Monaco is difficult to pass anyway, but I'm trying to think of examples. Brazil has always been known to be a very bad circuit for dirty air, despite Brazil being quite a wide-ish kind of track, and you would assume actually there could be some good overtaking there. Quite a lot of the time, you see cars getting stuck behind one another because it's so difficult to pass around there due to so many winding high-speed corners where you've got so much travel time where the car behind another is getting affected by this dirty air, and it just can't produce the downforce to keep with it enough to be able to make a move down the inside, or make a move as it out-tractions the car ahead to or make a move on the straight. And so that's the main reason why they're wanting to change that. And like I said, with the rear wing, they're changing that for that reason as well, to make DRS a bit more effective in that kind of way, and also continuing to develop the rear wing area area, because obviously it's only been 2 years since they've kind of changed to this wider ring from what we used to have was a very narrow looking, now I look back at it, a very odd looking tiny thin rear wing. It's kind of funny how quickly you get used to it. And that's one thing I will say, kind of devil's advocate for those who aren't liking the look of it, or maybe just, I think it's just a bit too weird looking. Eventually we'll all get used to it. In 2 years time when the 2021 rules come in, remember that's another major rule shake-up. You'll be thinking, why on earth are they changing it? I'm too used to the 2019 and 2020 rules. And also remember, that's a big reason why you've got moves like Daniel Ricciardo to Renault, is potentially this mini rule shake-up can change things up. You never know if Renault found an innovative way of still getting a decent amount of air turned around the wheels, or a decent amount of downforce produced on the front end through the bargeboard elements as well with the new front wing. Then maybe that's something they pitched to Daniel Ricciardo. And then, like I mentioned, for 2021, that's the really major overhaul, which we all hope will be a major thing that will change the cars in a really positive way to induce better racing in cars that can follow one another. But, obviously we'll have to wait until we cross that bridge, because in Formula 1, it's always the case if false promises can come a crop, where there's always been the case with the tyres so far in terms of false promises, and then, X, Y, and Z has always been the case in F1. But you can imagine the teams, that was, at least for Williams, Force India, Red Bull, really useful data, because it is going to affect the cars massively. The cars are going to get slower by, at least a couple of seconds, I would say, maybe 2 minimum. I mean, that's a lot of downforce they're going to lose in the front end. And of course, they've still got the extreme barge boards to help, and I assume that in 2018, you'll be seeing an R&D race, basically, with the middle of the car, and the kind of just straight after the front wing, teams will be trying to exploit the air, the little air they're now getting, the lesser air they're getting from the vortices off the front wing. They're going to be trying to exploit that as much as they can. So expect the middle of the car to get even crazier maybe than it is now. I mean, it's already bonkers how crazy the Ferrari, Mercedes and Red Bull look, but expect the midfield teams to focus even more on that than they are right now maybe. A lot of teams maybe still Sauber, Williams focusing on the front wing. Williams brought a front wing update literally at Germany, and now within half a season that front wing update they brought to Germany is going to be obsolete. We've seen Force India, before they kind of semi went under with that administration, talk about they're already funneling funds in R&D through to 2019 at the Canadian Grand Prix. So it's gonna be a big update. And in terms of my thoughts of the aesthetics, it's going to be odd. Obviously, I'm a bit biased towards wanting some complexity in the front wing. Being a graduate of engineering, I'm very nerdy in that kind of way. I appreciate the kind of aesthetic of what the complex wings are, but at the same time I also have knowledge of how annoying it must be for turbulent air to hit that front wing, and how frustrating it must be for the air engineers to try and get around that. And then obviously you have the kind of real life terms of the drivers clearly get annoyed with, they just can't keep up. How many times have we heard Lewis Hamilton or Vettel, at the Hungarian Grand Prix, Vettel had to back off away from Bottas to then finally make his attack. We've seen many times Hamilton at Austria was complaining about he just couldn't keep up with cars around Austria, just due to the dirty air and the balance of the Mercedes car in the traffic. We've seen it before. It's not even a new thing in this new era. Back in the V8 era, the Red Bull cars were never great at following cars. Their strategy was qualifying first and going away in first. Once they got in traffic, they're pretty bad at it. So, it's going to be a big change, and I can appreciate it looks a bit odd, but it's going to be a shame not to see any development on the front wing, pretty much. I mean, imagine there'll be some slight alterations, because obviously they're still allowed to change how many flaps they have on the main plane. That's not a thing that FIA are going to control, but it is going to be a bit of a shame to not any, because that used to be, especially 2014 to 2016, I feel there was so much, every 2 races, developments of new front wings. And how many times this season have we seen the McLarens, talked about their new front wing, or their bonkers new nose and front wing now, and now it's just going to be, they've got a new nose maybe, or they've got a new bargeboard element, but no longer will you see that many updates on the front wing. I don't know, I might be proved wrong. Maybe they'll find some sort of loophole, because engineers are great at finding those kind of loopholes, but it is going to be a little bit sad in that kind of way. And also the driver reaction's been very mixed. Before, when they confirmed these rules, Sebastian Vettel was very much kind of like, why are we doing that? But of course, I guess Sebastian, he's thinking about himself. He's in a very good position with a good Ferrari car, but kind of thinking about the sport in general, we need better racing. And so let me know in the comments below, guys, do you think this will actually induce the better racing we hope, or as per usual, do you think it's not going to be quite enough, but it's a good step in the right direction, and then it's a good look into what will eventually come with 2021? But all of that, let me know in the comments below, because it definitely was quite a fair few of you tweeting me about your thoughts last week on Twitter about it. And of course, I never made a video last week, as there's a lot of other videos to make last week about the gaming side of F1, but I thought eventually I'd make this, because it's been a while since I've sat down and just talked about the real-life sport like this. I think the last video I made was all the way back at the Spanish Grand Prix when I was talking about the McLaren car, and obviously there haven't been too many Let's Talk videos as of late about updates because there just haven't been that many interesting updates that are world-changing, to be honest, apart from maybe the Williams front wing update that came at Germany. But that's been the video then, guys. If you're one of those people out there that do enjoy this kind of style of video, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see more of these kind of things in the future. And if you are new around here, do subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava, have a day, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.